Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3. And Category 4 in red.
As the riders sweep out of the start pen, fast and furious out of the pen and up to pace very, very quickly, just shy of 50 kilometres an hour. While the Category 1 group are dropping like flies. They went in with a large group at the bottom of this climb. The group led away with 8 riders in it, then 7 riders in it, now 6 riders in it, and we're starting to see it fracture again.
They are both riding really, really well. They're both at their respective race fronts at the moment. And they're both leading, in fact, their categories at the moment, just as we see them on screen at the moment. Great to see them both working so well. He's the man in position 2. Abello is in the polka dot skin suit. They're going to squeak by Caro. Abello is on the front in the polka dot. Is he going to hold him? Will it be Acker? Acker takes it on the line.
Simon Acker, he sees the UCI banner first. Simon Acker is going to take the win in the Category 4 race. He's broken free from the group. Simon Acker takes the win.
He's kicked first at 8 watts per kilo. He's starting to drop, but he kicks again. Up to 8.5. Pino is coming behind. Arego's coming at 11 watts per kilo. Has he left it too late? I think he has. Andrew Neville Ross takes it. Daniel Valencia of the Level Up Racing team making a move. He has absolutely thrown it to them, but they're coming back at him. He cannot afford to fade here. Will he hold on? Daniel Valencia gets it by the skin of his teeth. So hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. Kind of enjoyed those rewinds, oddly enough.
They're always good.
It was an absolutely cracking set of races. If you haven't watched them all, please do go back and watch them. But only after you've watched Qualifier race number 1 for May here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. My name's Matt Payne. I'm going to be taking you through all the race action. Here in the studio with me is the one and only statistician and mathematician and timekeeper extraordinaire,
Emma Martin.
I will think of something different every week, I promise.
Thank you. I never know what he's going to say. It always does surprise me. Well, not surprising me today is where our men are heading, because we have already seen some phenomenal racing from our women in Australia today. The men are also heading to Australia, but on a different course to our women. It was a cracking women's race, so please do head back and watch it. The men are on the outer loop today, so we see our cyclist complete the course. And there it is in front of you. So the Sydney Sprint coming at 4.4 kilometres into the course, and then that one main Category 2 climb, the Canberra climb, coming at 15.3 kilometres into this race. It's 5.4 kilometres long with an average gradient of 8.1%. But take a look, there are steps, and they do play with the racing. There is then a fast and furious but technical downhill, where I do know previously we have seen groups of men distanced on the climb make the catch back, and then, well, it's a long run to the finish. In fact, it is 24.3 kilometres from the top of the Canberra climb to the checkered flag. Well, it's going to be fast and furious, and it's going to be really interesting to see who takes the win today.
So 4 race categories are going to hit that course we've just seen, hit all those climbs, the lumps, the bumps, the rises, as well as that big Canberra climb. We're going to start off with our Category 4 riders. So the first go 5 minutes ahead of Category 3. And in our Category 4 race field. We have some familiar names in our team names because we have Level Up Racing. Now, Ola Warren looking to hitch on board the time machine that is Luke Allport. We've got the Upcycle squad, Adriano Zanaska, Ian Lloyd and Xavier Maillard. The WTBR MyWhoosh Brazil, good to see Osmar Vass and Marcus Brito back with us once again. And Emma, as well as them, we have a real who's who, including people like Andrew Neville Ross.
We do. So 45 riders on the start sheets today in Category 4. Neville Ross, McMurtry, Dadson, Valencia, Carcajal, Pino, Winfield, Navarro, Casagrande, Mark Dadson, Joshua Callangard is here. Nicholas Arago is on the start sheets today, as well as one or two new names.
So let's see who's going to take this out. It's time to hit the race start. It's Category 4 underway. This is the first of our men's races for May. Remember, we have 3 qualifiers this month, then the final 2 verified rides in those qualifying races to make the way into the final. This course is a tough one now. One of the key features of this course is around this right-hand bend. It's coming. It's on its way. It is this first kicker. You can see it's up right-hand side of your screen. It goes uphill. And this, where it goes uphill, is a really nasty little section where we are going to find our riders attacking each other, I am sure.
Well, it's gone like a firework off the start today because they've gone hard for this climb. And look at the damage and the sparks flying out the back of that group already as the riders push up this climb. It's coming and it's coming hard, and the pace is on still very, very strongly at the front. Dadson, Casagrande, Pinard, Dromard, Winfield all towards the front of this group. But it is Mark Dadson who's leading out at the moment. 7.6 watts per kilo at the front of the Category 4 race, 700 metres into the race.
So with less than a kilometre to go, Mark Dadson out of the saddle, kicking down both on his avatar and in the pain cave. That fan will be going on full belt as he looks to take this out from the front. He's doing damage behind. You can see riders being distanced. This is a big, big move. He wants to make this hard from the word go. Newman chasing Klangard, Neville Ross, Marin Ochoa, Dadson, Rooney, all in the chase. Steve Newman is going to be the man who's going to get across first, I think, as they go over the top. We're into this descent, and this is where any gaps will elongate, and we're going to see an accentuation of any splits.
Well, I'll tell you something, Matt. Andrew Neville Ross, who we're in with at the moment, for 10 years played competitive rugby league. And I tell you something, he needs broad shoulders in this pack today because they really are fighting in a scrum of cyclists. But 2024, do you know what? That's when he started cycling really competitively.
He's blooming quick, isn't he? I mean, it's good to see people coming in from lots of different sports. Andrew Neville Ross coming in from rugby. Tell us what position you played, mate. Let us know. What position did you play in rugby? And we can take some guesses. So the man that is Andrew Neville Ross out of the saddle, kicking his way in. He's got David Winfield just behind him. Jeff Rooney, the power himself, in there. Luke Allport not getting the chance to do some more porting off the front. Don't forget, of course, so generally, Category 4 go off chasing the ball like a pack of dogs down the street because they are absolutely frantic from the word go. Daniel Valencia at the moment, just a little bit more composed. He's going to be waiting to put in another dig, I'm sure.
He took the win last week in the final, and it was fantastic. So Valencia from Allport, from Dadson, from Winfield, and from Pino last week, giving Level Up Racing the win with first, second, and 5th versus 4th, 6th and 8th for the Mighty Ducks. So Valencia part and parcel of that. And I think, well, they were on the Heritage Climb last week in the final. Similar type of course today. Can Valencia be in the mix when they get to the line?
You say a similar type of course because it has a big climb sort of just before halfway, and then it's a little bit bumpy afterwards. But for me, one of the key things here is we've got this kicker that the riders go over initially in that sort of first kilometre. They hit it pretty much, and then they're going to be keeping on kicking on through. Then you've also got the dip and rise before the Canberra climb coming in. And I think it will break it up. I think, though, this is more likely to be a sprint of a small group than we saw last week.
Well, I would agree with that. Last time in Category 4, it was a sprint first and second and 0.3 of a second separating 1 and 2. But take a look at the damage already done, Matt, in this Category 4 race. In that bottom hand corner of the screen, it's not just 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups. It is absolutely smithereens.
It's blown to smithereens. Can our Category 3 follow our Category 4's example? Well, leading the level racing out, we've got the man himself, Captain Kirk, at the helm. We've got Clinton De Cirillo as first mate. We've got Eric Rimborg on the engineering. We've got Yona Tuika on communications, and Thierry Bessedi, well, he's in charge of pretty much everything else. So we're going to see if the enterprising bunch at Level Racing aren't going to be able to lead this out. They are the team who have the strength in numbers. They're going to be up against the rest of the riders. It's a huge race field. Emma's going to take them through once she's got us off from that start.
Well, Category 3, 45 riders on the start sheets today, and it's a big, big group as the final seconds tick down. Away go our blue jerseys, away go Category 3 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. This is qualifier number 1 in May, and we are heading on to the outer loop because the group are about to swing onto the course as Category 4 head in the other direction. So the pack fast and furious out the pen, already up to just shy of 50 kilometers an hour as they tick over at 56 kilometers an hour. They're coming up for the climb round this right-hand bend. We're in with Matthias Kalman at the moment now. Kalman, one of the very strong riders in this pack, but Rinborg is the rider leading this out at the moment. Kalman, Caro, Rinborg, Kirk, Bessedi is here. Just a quick heads up. I got to say congratulations to Thierry Bessedi and his family for the birth of little Felix on the 22nd of April. A new Level Velo member, obviously racing not till 2042. But congratulations and great to see that we are, bringing forward a new generation of cyclists.
We will see. Can he follow in the footsteps of Thierry? Congratulations, guys. And do get in touch. Let us know what's happening in your world. You can get in touch with Emma at biking_Emma. Myself is at Matt Fixpain. And make sure with all those images of you racing and riding on MyWhoosh, tag in MyWhoosh. It's at MyWhoosh on Insta, on Facebook. It's my_whoosh on X platform, formerly known as Twitter. And don't forget, of course, you can catch up with lots of great social media on there. Henry Easterman behind the World of SRC is in and on the bike. You can see it's going to be a really dark where he's got the curtains closed, really focused here, and he's looking lean and mean at the minute. That change of career is doing him good. He's looking pretty focused there.
He is indeed, and he's right at the front of this pack, Matt, pushing on here. Now, what's really interesting for me is, unlike that Category 4 pack that absolutely got decimated to smithereens, this pack still one group. It may be stretched and it may be long, but there are no gaps at the moment in this Category 3 pack. So as we see the Category 3, she says, I say that, and then look what happens. One rider comes around the corner.
Just to prove you're wrong. That's kind of how it works. That's called the curse of the commentator. It's almost like saying, well, Van Aert is going to get off and run this so he doesn't have an accident and he lands on the floor. Probably one of the most watched bits of footage I think I've ever had the unfortunate moments to talk about. I have to say on the way out that we are very fortunate in covering lots of cycle sport. My name's Matt Payne, commentator and cross. I can't remember how many disciplines and how many world championships and world cups for the UCI, for the BBC, for MyWhoosh, of course. And it's great to be here with Emma Martin again, another UCI, as well as MyWhoosh commentator here, and again, a multi-discipline, multi-sport rider. Emma, you've ridden lots of different things over the years. Indoor cycling bike, cyclocross race, that mountain bike. You ride indoors, it lets you do what you want. Is that time that you spend indoors better? Because you've got Thierry Bessedi here giving us a wave. Time for him is going to be really critical now.
Well, absolutely. There's a young member of that house at the moment, and every single minute counts that you can get with them, because boy, do they grow up quickly. But utilising e-cycling, absolutely crucial. For me, back in 2016, e-cycling for me was very much part of my training programme for mountain bike and cyclocross racing. I used to jump on at 6 o'clock in the morning and do half an hour, 45 minutes before work on a Monday to Friday every day to try and fit in sessions. And for me, it was very much part and parcel of that training program. It wasn't probably till 3 or 4 years later that it became part of my racing program, and that was for other reasons completely. But these riders here, Newman and Dodson, part and parcel of their racing program completely, because they are here regularly on a Sunday, on the Sunday Race Club, and making the most of what they can do in terms of putting the power down here and stretching this group.
And they really have kicked in. Now, this is a key part of the course. Cast your mind back to that profile. There was a dip just before we came into the climb, so about halfway from the start to the climb. This is where they're about to enter. You've got this slight rise up onto the bridge. We then go sweeping round off the bridge and down, and you can see Dodson and Newman, a real concerted move here, because what they've done, they've put the pressure on. They've wound the pace up on the climb with that little bit of an ascent, making it very, very difficult indeed for everybody else to stay with them. And using that terrain, using what's out there, knowing what's coming is as key almost as how to use it.
Well, if you are new to MyWhoosh, the Category 4 men start first on the Sunday Race Club, 5 minutes before the Category 3 men. Then we take a 10-minute gap before our Category 2 men start, and then a further 5 minutes till our Category 1 men leave the start pen. So 20 minutes separating Category 4, our first group of riders away, with Category 1, our last group of riders away on the Sunday Race Club.
So we'll soon be in with Category 1. It'll get here before we know it, but at the moment, Category 4 really are winding up. Category 3 out there now. Good to see Luke Allport just grabbing a drink on the way through. Here, Luke, another of our regular riders. Yes, I am waving again to the camera. It does happen. It's instinctive. I always wave at people when they wave at me. I do it on the bike as well. It's one of my bugbears when people don't wave at each other. World's too small to not be friendly. Now, Luke in here, and Luke at the moment being a little bit less all-porty than he normally is.
Well, steady in the group at the moment. They're on the descent into the tunnel at the moment. So the group tight, but a much smaller group than started in this Category 4 race. Now, before we really get into the nitty-gritty of this race today,
okay,
I do just want to go back to something that we mentioned at the end of the women's race.
Oh,
so
here we go.
Matt at the end of the women's race said, "Oh my goodness, that's got to be the fastest time ever on this."
It was
course
sub an
today."
hour.
It was sub an hour. So the women were in Australia today. They
In
were
fact,
on
it
the
was well
Wollongong.
sub an hour.
They were on the Wollongong course, and it was sub an hour. 56 minutes and 10 seconds was the winning time in Category 1. I want to confirm that was not the fastest time on the course by the Category 1 women. The fastest time was 54:36, which was set in the March final.
Wow. There is a reason that we have Professor Emma Martin, ABCD, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, more letters than you care to remember, after her name in the studio, if only just to keep a check on the stats. I was subjected to a conversation that she was having about statistics the other day. I have to say I didn't quite fall asleep in it. Emma here to bring you the facts and the figures, me to bring you the emotion, and of course the race feel. So if you have stats and statistics to get me in touch with Emma, send them to Emma. If you want to tell me why you ride, what you're up to, this is why I ride on MyWhoosh on Sunday Race Club. Let me know the TIW. This is why.
Well, I'll tell you something. If you're interested in stats and statistics, if you're interested in power, head over to mywhoosh.com to the blog page where Zach Nair this week has posted a blog about what it took for him to win his first ever Sunday Race Club.
Really interesting.
Really, really interesting piece going into the details of the race, the details of his power and what happened. And I think the key message I took away from it is resilience and determination, whether that's over the 3 years it took him until his first win or the 2 times he got dropped in the race that he eventually won.
Yeah, it's. I think it's really interesting, isn't it? The stats, the how he's rolling, what he's up to, and what it takes. And I mean, he's been here a long, long time. I mean, I was listening to a podcast, the Virtual Valor podcast, out walking the dog.
As you do.
Like I do pretty much every day because it's one of my favorite things to do is walk the dog whilst listening to a podcast. And I was listening to them describe him as one of esports superstars.
Zach Nair.
Yeah. And I thought about what does it take to be a an esports superstar at that point, and I think Zach Nair probably is the definition of it in some ways. The fact that it's his first win really did surprise me. Can he repeat it today? Well, we'll have to find out. At the moment, though, we are going to get ourselves across in with Category 2 because we can have 4 and 3 away. It's our Category 2 riders that are lined up ready for race start. Let's take you through the teams. Now, the Aotearoa Alliance squad are in Category 2. So are the UAE clan team, along with the Wattage Wizards and the Hitmen. The Aotearoa Alliance, Goodall, Squilari, Connell and Simmons. We have the UAE clan team with Mr. X100, Pablo Popovic and SS. We have a Wattage Wizards represented by Ruben Don. And we have the Hitman being led by Olivier Simmons. Who's going to take this out? Who's going to take away the win? You're going to have to find out. We've got some big, strong squads. And we're going to go through some of the runners in the race, in the race in just a second.
Well, 56 riders in this category as well. Away go Category 2 on Qualifier 1 in May. Ruben Dont is the rider we are in with at the moment. Dont, part and parcel of the Wattage Wizards. He took 3rd place in the final last week. 1st place, well, that was Mendakowicz. 2nd was Spratt. 4th was Graves. And 5th was Peter Milostic. But, well, today is a new month and a bigger pack. We've got riders coming up from Category 3. Goodall, Squilari and Connell. That was the top 3 in Category 3 last week. They are up here. And we've got riders being adjusted and coming into the here from Category 1. So movement for X100, Popovic and SS. That flexibility in that movement between the categories is what we see week in, week out in the women's and the men's race, making this the biggest race field today. Well, it's a huge race field today. We've also got Martin Messer in here, Jonas Bjarhead, James Kranich, Ilpino. Now, last time we were on this course in Category 2, it was 6 seconds separating the top 4. I'm going to make an early prediction.
Careful.
My early prediction in the women's race wasn't far wrong, you know. But my early prediction in the men's race today is that we could throw a blanket over the number of riders in the finish in Category 2 because I think this is going to be a big sprint.
That's a big prediction. Okay.
I reckon there's going to be 10 plus riders in the finish.
That's a group sprint, not a big sprint. Well, it's not a bunch sprint anyway.
Well, you know, there's going to be, I would say, a fifth of the race field.
Yeah, that's still a group. That's still a group sprint. It's not a bunch sprint. Whether it's a big sprint, I don't know.
We're getting pedantic in the commentary box
Terminology
today.
is really, really key. I mean, at the moment, look at this. Is that field splitting or have we just dropped one rider?
We've dropped one rider.
There you go. And we're about to maybe potentially drop another one because we're seeing somebody else go towards the back of the group at the moment. So as we drop down, coming in, taking this right-hand turn, Category 2 riders. It is a big bunch here. Good to see Peter Milostic in here. I have a Nuki going well at the moment. Customer, Tatu Coyster and Pete Connell. He's been riding well, hasn't he?
He's been riding really, really well as part and parcel of Category 3. And I think Goodall, Squilari and Connell all deserve the progression to Category 2. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see what they can do. But I imagine they're going to be part and parcel of this big group at the moment. The question is, how long can they stay in the mix?
Oh, that's a big ask. To the second step on the climb. There's my prediction.
Is it? Well, there we go.
It's Prediction City today. Welcome to MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, the Prediction City
well, let me
broadcast.
just say, in Category 2 last week, so last week was our April final. We were on the Heritage Climb in Alula. And we've already said, you know, Mendakowicz, Spratt, Donk, Graves and Milostic were the top 5. But the Hitmen took the win in the team competition from the Wattage Wizards. And it was 1 minute and 4 seconds. And in fact, the next gaps down and across those teams in Category 2 were very slender in terms of time. Top 3 riders' times added together is what gives you that team competition. That was the closest team competition out of all 4 categories last month. And you can see why. The first climb here has not done the damage to Category 2 that it did to Category 3 and 4.
No, and I think that split that we've seen just might be somebody just not having a good day, just on a good roll, maybe just wanting to just get a ride
Or
in.
not getting the warm-up right.
Not getting the woman right. I don't know. It almost seems fairly intentional. Meanwhile, the other end of it, you can see that we've got Messier and Dekowitz opening it up. We've got a Bitco in there, Trojanaski, Mayor, Nuki responding very, very quickly. That's in category 2. So categories 2, 3, and 4 away. We're going to go in with our category 1 riders very, very shortly. And you can see that they're all lined up now. In terms of teams, Coalition Alpha Jaw are here represented by Jakobs, Turek, Vajasin, Kaminsky, and Jones. The Pain Toasted squad.
Yeah.
They're going to be led out by Bjorklund and Mikael Plantero. And then we're going to have the Racing Shock squad. Now that is Ika Murel in there leading them. But we've got Knudsen, we've got Panisa, Van Elst, a huge range of riders who could challenge. And of course, Sackner, who must be on a roll at the moment.
Well, Knudsen is here. Safrazadi took a second in that final last week. He's always Mr. Consistent. So will he be consistent today and in that top 5? Well, we'll find out soon because in 3 seconds we go. Well, away you go, category 1. They are up and out of the start pen. It's a smaller race field today, 29 riders, but there's some real class in here today. So Vujasin is here, Kaminsky, Jones, Turek, Jakobs is here, Dan Talbot, Noren is here, Josh Wilson is on the start sheet, Martin Martins is back, and well, I can tell you he has been out wrecking the course because I was chatting to him on Thursday after I'd done the training session. Knudsen is here, he took 3rd last week, Ritter, Althebe, Panizza, Fawcett, Safrazadi, Van Elst, who has had some good form over the last 6 weeks, and of course, Zach Nair, who we were talking about earlier.
So let's see, we're in with Zach Nair at the moment. Do go on and have a read of that article on the blog on MyWhoosh. What does it take to win? The answer is
a lot of hard work.
A lot of hard work. Yeah, you can sum it up with that. Yeah, hard work and dedication and talent, commitment, and plenty of working hard. One man who empathies all that. Said Safrazadi in here. You can just see. Let's get a different camera angle now on Said at the moment. Just looking very focused as he looks at the front of the race, working hard at the moment. And looks like at the moment the pace is already distancing riders off the back. This is a ferocious speed up here.
Well, it's a ferocious course because on this outer loop course, they hit this climb within the first 700 meters and it is steep. It tops 7-8%. And it really, really does do damage to the group. And it's Knudsen on the front. Well, we know Knudsen has been returning to form. He finished 3rd last week in the final, and it's taken a while for him to refine that form after some significant illness back in December and January. But when the form comes back through, it shines. Knudsen in 1, pushing this group. And, well, there's a gap. And we've got riders' distance in category 1, but Van Elst, Martins, Holweiler in the mix here. They are up the front of the group and continuing to make the pace high.
Interesting moves, interesting times in category 1. Michael Knudsen, a free agent today with the UAE clan team, moving into category 2, and it does mean that he now is going to be looking around him. He's not going to have that protection, not going to have the strength of that squad behind him. It's going to be very, very interesting how that works out. I think it's going to provoke some very, very aggressive racing with the loss of a team. No matter what that team is, that's going to happen.
Look how aggressive this category 2 racing is.
It's a perfect example, isn't it? I mean, this shows you just how tough this course is. They're on the way now. This is where we saw that big move by Dadson and Co. This is the run round. So we go along here, we come up, we sweep up onto the bridge. You're going to see it in your left here now, coming into your shot. And that bridge is the high point before we dive down. So we're going to do a right-hand turn, sweep onto the bridge, over the bridge and down into the descent.
Well, the reason we see such hot racing early on this course is because take a look at this. This is the polka dot banner in the category 4 race coming at 15.3 kilometres into the race. Now, if you've got 56 riders on your start sheets like category 2, you don't want to do 15 kilometres with 56 riders and then get to the climb. You want to take that group down smaller. You do not want that number of riders. Category 4, well, they started with 45 riders on the start sheets today. It's not 45 riders in that group, but boy, that's more than 20.
Yeah. I'm not even going to try and count that far. I've run out fingers and toes. I think because it's over 20 at the moment. Dadson, though, he's in the key position. Number 1, he's leading this out at the moment, jumping out the saddle, kicking up onto the climb. Now, this climb is key today. We talked about this being a stepped climb. It's 3 risers. Those are the vertical parts, or in this case, the steeply sloping parts. And then we have 2 treads. Those are the flat landings or the flat platforms you put your feet on a set of stairs, or in this case, you either attack or you take a rest on the climb. Now, they're on part 1, and this is 5.5%. It then increases in gradient before it levels out at the first of those treads. And this part here, it's brutal. It's not the first climb because we've come out from that big dip after the bridge. However, this is a long, consistent climb, and at 5.5 kilometers long, nearly 404 meters of ascent in this. This is a big climb. You've got to be in, I think, the group at the top of this, Emma. And I think probably in terms of race results, if you're in the group at the front, you're not going to be in trouble. If you're in a group behind, you have got to work incredibly hard on that descent. It is doable,
You do.
but you've got to expend a lot of energy.
No, it's very true, and you do indeed have to expend a lot of energy. And, I think getting your head around the fact that a downhill is not for recovery is absolutely part and parcel of racing the Sunday Race Club and racing it well. Because when gaps go, those riders who sit and look at each other on the descent or take a huge deep breath and try and drop their heart rate, often that's when the gaps get closed. And Kaminski, who we can see on our screen on the bottom left, knows all about that. He's been riding and racing strongly on this platform for a long time now. But Knudsen, Kaminski, Van Elsen, Vujasin, Plantero, 11.6 watts per kilo. That was a phenomenal kick there. But this group are moving so fast at the moment and keeping the pace really, really high.
So Kaminski on the front, winding it up as they come in to this sprint section. We've seen in the past people use this as a way of attacking, of disguising an attack, looking like they're going for a sprint, but then ripping it apart. Kaminski, Van Els, Knudsen, Plantero. We've got Vujasin, Med, Dan and Co behind. Will they close this down? They have now. Knudsen goes over the top. He's going at 8 watts per kilo at the moment, just keeping the pace of rolling on over. So Knudsen, one of our regular winners on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club over the years, goes through. Is he going to ease off, though? Once he's gone through, it looks like he's going to keep the power on. He's not completely backed right off, but he knows that he's not gone clear. So at the moment, Kaminski and Knudsen almost taking it in turns. They've got a slight gap here to the riders behind. And as we take a look at the time through, they're really interesting. Kiesnowski actually with the fastest time. So our Category 3 riders taking the top 4 spots, and you can see with 9.3 watts per kilo and 9.1 for Kiesnowski and Ace, they really were working for that. So was Bristolin and Kirk. They're both over 7 watts per kilo. Then you can see Hoitonen looking very good. Aaron Hoitonen there from Category 4, 8.3 watts per kilo. Lots of people going for that sprint. Jakob Bjorklund, I suspect that was a chase on, though, rather than the sprint for the sprint's sake.
Yeah, I think so indeed. And just really interesting, Matt, whilst we were just looking at those results, I was also having a little think about the number of riders racing regularly on MyWhoosh. Now, I do have some stats.
No, really?
Don't fall off your chair. But one of the things I was looking at this week was how many riders, not race the Sunday Race Club in April, but how many regular riders have we got? And Enrico Quadrelli, he's always here and hereabouts. He's always on the Sunday Race Club, and great to see our riders joining us each week. Now, going back to each week, so I took a look at how many men had ridden all 3 qualifiers in April.
Okay.
So had been ever present, so to speak.
Would this be using the fantastic spreadsheet that is available if you go to our social media links? So the links are in the bio.
I might have been having a little look at
Excellent.
that. But 175 men raced all 3 qualifiers.
Wow.
I thought that was phenomenal.
170
Five
men raced
raced
all the
three
qualifiers.
qualifiers. So
Brilliant.
34.
Well done.
I know. Absolutely brilliant. Wasn't
Excellent.
It? So, and interestingly, 46 different men took individual prize money throughout April.
Wow. Anybody who says it's foregone conclusion on any racing, I tell you, is absolutely in la la land at the moment, because it's incredible the variety of riders able to be right up there in the mix.
Well, Caro
across
is
all
one
of
of them.
ours. Yeah, he is. I mean, we can see here, Eduard Caro, he's right in the mix. He's in this group as they come on to climb. And this is the climb of the Canberra climb, and Caro really working hard there. You can see him burying himself to stay with this group. He does not want to get dropped. 93 the pedal cadence, 93 revs per minute, heart rate rising. That's category 3. They're on the climb. This is the ascent out now. We come from the bridge where we saw those attacks going earlier in categories 1 and 4. You drop down into the base, down underneath the water, then you climb back out. This is that climb back out. It's not a categorized climb, but at nearly 5%, it is the first chance for the climbers to break the group. And if you look at the left-hand side,
it's the first real break in category 2 at the moment. We've got multiple small groups on the road on this climb, and the push coming on at the front and the push coming on hard. I can see 6-7 watts per kilo on the front of this group, because they're determined not to take such a large group into the bottom of the Canberra climb. It's a smaller group, but it's still a big group of strong riders. Gombe is here, Mayer, Kane, Jung is here, X100, Quinstonen is here, Clays, Spratt, Graves is there, Betty is at the front of the pack, and well, the pace is going down, and Ricardo Betty, he's a strong rider as well.
He is. The category 2, you know, when people say in fashion, you know, orange is the new black or whatever, you know, because it's the trendy colour, it's the new colour that everyone should have.
You telling me green is the new yellow?
Yeah, definitely. I've always said that, though. I must admit, category 2 was where I would have been racing once upon a time. Now I think I struggle to be in category 4. Such is the improvements in all of our race categories. And I think that's borne out by the times taken across the finishing line, with records being set for the courses, because there's more racing, harder racing from the word go. But being in a competitive group really does make things fun. And let's face it, most of us race for fun.
Well, and also being in a competitive group pushes the riders. And, you know, going back to your love of podcasts, if you've listened to the Yassin and Jones on the Level Velo podcast, they'll tell you that both of them have seen performance improvements because of racing on the Sunday Race Cup. It's hard racing.
It is, and the pair of them on the Virtual Velo podcast were very, very, very interesting to listen to. Did make a big impact on me. Very interesting to hear them there, and some great insight as well. So let's see what they have to say after this. Always great to catch up with them on social media. It is at MyWhoosh on Facebook and on Instagram. It is, of course, at Biking Emma. If you want to give her an update, let her know how you're getting on with it, particularly with stats and or names of titles and things. Also, don't forget, if you've got any family news, let Emma know. Me, I want to know why you're racing. That's my current... I want to know what motivates you to race, because I know what motivates me to race. It is racing against other people. Put me on a training session and I would likely probably suffer from narcolepsy and fall asleep. However, put me on a race and that's what I absolutely love. I'm loving seeing Sad Carradine there really working here. He's a rider who really races, and you can see that in how he races. When it's tough, when there's things going on, he absolutely loves it.
Well, absolutely loving the racing at the moment is Angus Benson. He's in the mix there, but our category 3 riders are scattered amongst the category 4 racers up this climb at the moment. They're at 16.8 kilometres into this 45-kilometre race. This is the leading group in category 3. We are in with Angarita at the moment. David Young is there. Wayne Smythe, Jack Staples, Nicole Cansara, Jose Rodriguez, all in the mix here as they work their way continually up the climb and through the Category 4 race field.
Interesting rider in that group is Johan Moreno. Really love Johan Moreno in there. He's looking really strong. He's a rider who was ripping it up on the front of the racing in Category 2. He's actually in Category 3 at the moment. And we are seeing a migration of riders both up and down. And remember, of course, the categories here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. If you're not a regular viewer, etc., then you know, maybe what you need to do is have a little bit of a look back over some of the races previously. But what you'll see is that the categories vary, and it's not based on a very watts per kilo figure. And for me, watts per kilo is a key number in terms of seeing how hard people are going.
Well,
and it gives a key indication. But like we're seeing here with Paul Garron, I'm just going to say exactly what Emma's probably going to say. Like Paul Garron's going now, the category around Paul Garron in Category 3 is based on his ability to climb here, which is brilliant, but he's just fighting to stay with the group. I know he's a good sprinter. He's got a fantastic kick on him. And it's a mix of all of the abilities here on MyWhoosh that puts you into those right categories and gets you in that power passport. So if you want to find out more, do go on to mywhoosh.com. If you do have any queries, they've got a fantastic support team there who will answer your questions as well. They're really, really responsive.
They have a fantastic Discord channel as well.
Yes.
Where the community will respond to any questions and queries you've got, as well as MyWhoosh. So do seek that out as well. You know, those support systems are there. Likewise, the Facebook groups.
Yep. Social media is not just about keyboard warriors bashing into here, this, that, and the other. It is all about making sure that you got some community support. It's great to see the communities building here, and great to see the racing just being so frantic. I'm really looking forward to, of course, the World Championships coming up in October, and the races, the qualifying races going into that could be really interesting to see those. At the moment, we are on qualifier race number 1, though, for May's Sunday Race Club. It is some fantastically interesting racing in the sense that, for me, the climb has not yet been decisive.
Well, Category 4 and Category 3 are on the climb at the moment. This is Category 2, and they are about to take that left-hand bend, which will give them view and sight of that polka dot banner, signifying the start of the climb. And Anders Bengtsson, well, he's up and out of the saddle at the moment, keeping the pace high. These are the foothills, I'm going to call them, because it is, well, it's still a gradient. It's just shy of 2% at the moment as it's stretching the group on the run into the Canberra climb. It's going to get a lot steeper than 2%, but Quinston is there, Spratt, Walters, Daunt are there as well, Simmons is there, Graves is in the mix. These are the names that we hear week in, week out at the front of this race field, and there it is. That's the polka dot banner.
So the polka dot banner is in front of the riders. This is the climb, the Category 2 climb of the Canberra climb. It is just under 5.5 kilometres long. It tops out at 20.7 kilometres into this race route. And you're going to climb 404 metres of ascent coming up in 3 stages, separated by 2 landings. The first landing longer than the second. Neither are going to be a case of what wins you the race, but they could be where you lose the race, and that is what's really key here. Ruben Daunt, one of our great riders, big sprint on him, big climber, great rider. At the moment, he's fighting to stay with this group. We've got Mr. X100 with Phil Graves. Haven't said that for a little while, but do you know what? It's a bit like when we came back. If you didn't look at the streaming journey last week, do go back and watch it. It is hysterically funny in the sense that some things really don't change, including my intros pretty much, other than they've gone from Arabic to English and back again at times. But I tell you something, we saw Mr. X100 and Phil Graves battling it out when we very first started this show. That was a long time ago. We're into year 3 of putting words to the action here. And I tell you something, we've got that again. I'm really looking forward to seeing this because those two have fought it out, and that's going to be a real battle. And they're joined by riders like Todd Allenjung here, and one of our newer riders. Good to see him there. He's still got the fan on, even though it is pretty cold where he is, I think.
Well, I don't know whether it's cold. It's going to be hot, and the heart rate is going to be rising.
Yeah, it's 9 degrees.
Currently at 163 beats per minute. It's only going to go up. So the heart rate's going up, the gradient's going up, the power's going up. You know, that is the way this climb is just going to take place.
Big kicks coming in on the front again. We're starting to see a wind up going. You're seeing people just going towards the gutter, starting to stretch this out in category 2. In category 1, oh, well, all of a sudden, Martins has had enough. He's decided this group might have come down because you can see that we've got splits behind the big main group. There are 1 or 2 riders distance, but he now wants to take this run in at pace. He's at 12.8 kilometers.
This is an early attack.
This is a proper move off the front here. 6 seconds and counting at the moment. Good to see Josh Wilson chasing up there. Michael Plantero in there, but Martins, one of our regular riders over the last few years. You can see one of the riders got a MyWhoosh jersey.
We've
from
missed
there.
him whilst he's taken a break.
Martin, it's good to have you back, buddy. Keep that racing going. He's back with us. He's up on the group here. A rider who's incredibly strong in the MyWhoosh Championship, where we saw that the biggest prize pot in cycling esports of $1 million.
Well, I'll tell you something. Michael Knudsen is now picking up the mantle to do the chasing line of Yasin Makro-Kaminsky in there. So is Mikko Plantero. These riders now pushing on because, well, it's dangerous letting Martins go down the road, you know, because he's so strong. He's going to be refreshed. He's had a break. He's going to be coming to this with a new surge of adrenaline and a new surge of, right, let's bring this on. Doesn't matter what you've been doing while I've been away. I'm back and I'm going to let you know.
I've just been keeping an eye on, whilst he's been putting the boot in there, on Mikkel Plantero.
Oh, he's going well, you know, at the moment.
Do you know what? He's going well. And do you know what might be extra motivation? We have our French colleagues joining us on commentary. So we've talked about me doing my hellos in Arabic and also me doing hellos in English. Well, they're doing hellos in French. And whilst I can say bonjour,
ça va?
Bienvenue à le...
Don't go there.
No. The cost of dimanche.
Wait. Okay, well.
It's not going to be anywhere near as fluent as the gang speaking in French. So welcome to joining us. So thank you very, very much, guys. It's good to have you on board. And if French is your first language and you're listening to us in your second or third or fourth language, chapeau for the fact that you actually can speak all those languages. And you might want to go join our colleagues on the French channel. If you want to stay with Emma and myself, you're more than welcome. And thank you very much for joining us so far. But good to have our colleagues here. And I'm going to be listening back to improve my French.
Well, I was about to say, there is also that opportunity that should you be a cyclist in the peloton and want to learn another language, you now have 3 options.
That's a big ask.
Yeah,
I struggle with English
you
at
can
times.
watch the same race in different languages to improve your language skills.
So there you go. So MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club doesn't just bring you racing. We bring you language skills too.
Yep, we do indeed. And
if that makes the bloopers cut, then there we go. Right, let's get back to the racing here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. We have got 4 race categories underway. Category 1, our elite category riders chasing a certain Martins, who is now
16 seconds down the road. And, well, this is the group. They've steadied up, you know. They are steadier in their pace at the moment. They're coming up and round. They're about to see that polka dot banner indicating the start of the climb. They're going to come past that thundering sound of the waterfall. And then the thundering of their heartbeat is going to be what they're going to be hearing next as they hit this climb. There it is on the right-hand side. The noise, should you be going over this bridge, would be deafening with that waterfall, but they're not going to be paying much attention at all.
When I was racing, most of the time I couldn't hear anything other than my heartbeat and my lungs and my brain screaming, what on earth are you doing? And never mind anything out on the outside world. If I was listening to the outside world, then generally I wasn't going hard enough. That's called riding, not racing.
Oh, I don't know about that.
We'll soon see. We're on to the climb. We have Martins up the road. He is the rider, the sole breakaway rider, getting a head start onto the climb. But now we expect to see a real fireworks now. Jakob Björklund out of the saddle already here, just rocking side to side on the bike, looking to wind up. You can see them, the fans are going because you can see the kit hung up in the background, just blowing about. I think that's a wheel bag, to be honest.
Well, the jersey and the wheel bag are blowing.
They are, aren't they? Yeah, it's definitely definitely a lot of air moving around in that, and quite right. So it is so warm. Once you start generating that heat, many of us create our own microclimate. I can only speak for myself, but mine probably creates a whole lot of global warming. Me just sat on the bike trying to keep up with other riders. Ollie Jones, though, he's one cool customer, because Ollie Jones, if you had to pick one man who was right in there when it counts, but doesn't put himself out into the wind too early,
Well,
Ollie Jones is that.
Hold on a minute. I've seen Ollie Jones win from a lone breakaway a long way out.
But he does it. He makes decisive moves. He doesn't waste energy. That's what I'm trying to say.
Whilst not wasting energy at the moment, it's Neville Ross, Dadson and Zanaska. They're joined at the front of the race. In fact, Winfield is there as well. And I'm just taking a look. So 5 riders currently at the front of this Category 4 race, going under the polka dot banner at the top of the Canberra climb. So 5 riders clear. Callangad in 6th, 15 seconds back. Then we start to see bigger groups. In fact, there is a big group chasing Callangad. They're about 10 seconds behind him. So this is getting interesting. 5 riders clear now at the top of the Canberra climb in Category 4.
So over the top of the climb they go. The first 5 riders are set in the mountain, dropping off the other side. And then you go down all the way quick. It's a very quick descent, actually. There's very little in the way of landings. It's mostly all descending. And on the way down, if you don't get on by the time we drop off the edge, which is where Adriana Zanaska is about to hit now, if you're not on by there, it's very difficult to get back, particularly if it is a big group. So that's the front of the Category 4 race. On the right-hand side of the screen, on the left-hand side of the screen, Mercedes, Rimbaud, Kansara and co. This is the lead of the Category 3. They're working their way up and through past riders in Category 4. They're not that far behind in terms of distance, but in terms of time they are, because they are still on this steep upper slopes of the ascent here, and you can see it's going to kick again before we get to the summit, get to that polka dot banner, which will decide the outcome, the destination of our polka dot skin suit for the fastest rider to the top of the climb. At the moment, Angarita Hayes in the mix here, but this is a big group, and behind there's an even bigger group chasing.
Well, I'm counting 8 riders at the moment on our screens, and they just keep coming behind because it's still close at the top of this Category 3 race. So whilst we've seen 5 riders go over the top in Category 4, I think we're going to see more than 5 riders go over in this group in Category 3. Well, part and parcel of this, Jack Staples is here, Henry Yeast, Marvin Angarita, Moreno and Young, 4 or 5 seconds back. In fact, there is Marvin Angarita. Look at the effort it takes to stay in this leading group. That is one bout of hard work to stay in this group, but he's about to be rewarded because he's going to go over the top with this leading group in Category 3. They're going to hit the flat in a moment before they hit the downhill.
I'm almost crying looking at the effort it is taking over the top there. Just so hard. David Alejandro Cajal was the rider in Category 4 who took the fastest time over there. At the moment in Category 3, I think it's going to be Thierry Bassetti, the Level Racing Squad, who had the fastest time over the top of the Canberra climb. It certainly looks like Mercedes got that polka dot skin suit, but remember this, we're going to see this come down. We reckon Emma's just holding up digits to me. It's not because she's ordering coffees, drinks, or anything else. It's because I think there are 7 riders. Was that Emma?
7 riders in the leading group, and then Young and Moreno, Kalman and Caro are the chasing 4.
So, Category 4 and Category 3 now over the top of the climb. Remember that we had 5 minutes separating those 2 groups at the start. It was 10 minutes, though, between Category 3 and Category 2, and 5 minutes between 2 and 1. And it's Categories 2 on the right-hand side of your screen, Category 1 on the left-hand side of your screen as they make the way up this climb. Now, Category 1 are on the first of those treads, the flat sections. Category 2 are coming up to the second levelling section, that tread, the little bit of a pause, a respite if you need it, but the smart riders will kick through here and try and elongate this group, try and stretch this group out and break it a little bit. And we've seen moves on the front. There's another push coming as they just go over the top here. Mr. X100 kicking his way into this. He knows that by putting the pressure on now, he's going to make those climbers suffer. He will want a more consistent effort. He won't want to back off here and kick again. He'll want to keep that hard. And by doing so, this is now putting people under pressure. Alan Young going with him. Don knows the danger. He's coming up. It looks like we're seeing Milostic, Walter, Krasnick, Simmons, Koistinen all in the mix at the moment. They have got to really work their way up here. That is a huge group.
Well, I'm looking at that group thinking it is a big group. It's about 12 to 15 riders in that group. But I tell you something, Matt, every single one of those riders has had a top 5 position historically. The strength and depth of this category 2 race field is phenomenal. Bengston, Dont, X100, Allingham, Krasnick, Betty can keep going. Graves is in here as well. These riders. Simmons, it's just a who's who of category 2.
It's a who's who of category 2 and of esports racing. It's one of the reasons we love it, because wherever you are in terms of ranking, in terms of position, there's people to race against. And don't forget, of course, we have lots of great racing on MyWhoosh on the platform. Got the new entry-level racing coming from the OTR racing team. They're bringing you some entry-level racing, as well as the team time trials and some vets racing as well. And of course, we have our flagship of esports, which is the Sunday race. Locan Kane, one of our regular riders now for some time, raced in that $1 million, the MyWhoosh Championships 1 year. It's almost exactly a year ago.
It is indeed. In fact, it came up on my Facebook feed during the week. That it was one of my take a look back posts 1 year from. So indeed, it was indeed 1 year ago, the MyWhoosh Championships, that we were following that 7-day stage race over the 8 days. And we're still seeing some of those riders part and parcel of the Sunday Race Club putting in phenomenal performances, starting out with the championships and staying with us for the entire year following them.
That's exactly what we want. Lots more riders out and racing, riding. Maybe you want to experience what it's like to go around the Yas Marina circuit. Remember, of course, if you live in the UAE, you can actually go ride there 3 times a week, free. Jump on the circuit and actually go ride around it. If you're not lucky enough to be there, well, you can always go do that on MyWhoosh. You can jump on board and ride around that Yas Marina circuit, which is quite nice because it's pretty flat compared to going up. But if you've always dreamed of riding up something like the Jebel Havit, the Jebel Yais, or you want to go to Australia to go to the World's Championship circuit that was Wollongong Climb, you can do that. Our women were there this morning. You can ride up the Canberra Climb here and maybe take on the Melbourne Sprint, which is our last sprint of the day. The riders have to get over the top here. Category 2 leading the group is fracturing, reforming and fracturing. These are the leaders. Emma, we've still got a way to go to the summit. It's not that far, but it's far enough.
Well, 600 metres to go till they hit the polka dot banner signifying the top of the climb. And at the moment, we've got 4 riders leading in category 2, but it is seconds, fractions. It's 3 seconds back to the chasing group. The Ruben Don is, Simon Walter is there as well. Hassan Sultan is looking like he's now been dropped from this group and he's further back down the mountain. But, well, they are pushing strongly on the front here, and it's being led at the moment by Betty.
He is indeed. Betty leading it here. It shows you just how packed it is, because we could just see between Hassan Sultan and these leading groups, there are about 28, 30 riders in between, and of mixed categories, because it really is a real battle on these slopes to get clear. And at the moment, category 2, Todd Allington is the rider again kicking on here, trying to stretch this out. 6.5 watts per kilo being responded to by Betty Bengtson and Mr. X100, the nearest riders to him. Meanwhile, category 1 leaders, they're on that next flat section, on that next leveled section. As they go through there, it is Knudsen, Safazadi, Rujassin who are in this leading group. Van Elsty's there, Kaminsky's in touch, but it has fractured substantially in category 1. They are spread across the side of the Canberra Climb. Who's going to take this out? You're going to have to stay with us to the end of the racing. We'll try and bring you every single one of our race categories into that finish if we can. I'm going to say if we can, because it is really, really tricky. I'm just glad it's not my fingers on the camera keyboard.
Well, It's the riders' feet that are on the pedals that's doing the talking at the moment in category 2. Alan now putting in 4 seconds on this group. You know, he's pushing for the top of the climb. We saw him on our screens not very long ago in his pain cave, working hard. In fact, there we go. Let's drop back in. He's up and out of the saddle and working hard, working strongly. He's got 3 seconds on Ricardo. Betty, Bengston, Daunt now coming up. In fact, this chase group, Matt, coming back together behind. So I think we're going to see this group all come together on the descent here, because 3 seconds, it's going to concertina together.
It is, but there was a smile on the face there of Alan Young as he came over the summit. You can see that as he came in through the chasing group behind are going to come up to him, I suspect. Is that 6 or 7 riders,
It's going to be 8 riders, I think we're going to see come together on that descent in category 2. It's not going to be 8 riders in category 1, because at 19.9 kilometres into this climb, they've got 800 metres of climbing still to go, and we've got Knudsen with, well, I was going to say we've got Knudsen with Safrazadi, but we haven't. Safrazadi's 1 second back. We've got Knudsen and Vujasin. Safrazadi now coming up onto the wheel. Kaminski and Ollie Jones are the 2 chasing riders, but Kaminski's 5 seconds back, Jones 11 seconds back. Now, this has absolutely caused chaos in this category 1 race. 3 riders.
It is chaos. It's chaos. It's carnage. It's tough. It is absolutely brutal on the climb. We are on the upper slopes here. Our leading riders going up. And at the moment, Kaminski is really trying to take it to them. He's on the front of this. He's got a gap. You can see Jones and Van Elster trying to answer that. They're right-hand side of your screen. Left-hand side coming up onto the big screen here. This is Knudsen. In fact, he's ahead of Kaminski by about 10 seconds. Well, this is your leading group.
The leading group is 3: Vujasin, Knudsen and Safrazadi. Kaminski is putting in one massive effort behind to try and close the gap down, but it's still at 10 seconds as these 3 leading riders are trying to be closed down by Kaminski. Now, the riders that we saw, Jones and Van Elst, they are chasing Kaminski, and the thing is, none of these riders want the gap to be too big as they go over the top of this climb. It's 12% just shy underneath their wheels at the moment, and they are battling. The top 3 want to stay away. The chasing 3 want to close the gaps down. Now, Jones' push has brought him back much closer to Kaminski's wheel. In fact, Kaminski and Jones are indeed teammates on that Coalition Alpha Jaw squad, and you can see Jones working his way through the category 2 riders. In fact, that's Lyndon Millerstick, who is the rider he's coming up on the shoulder of. Now, great opportunity for the young rider to try and go with Jones, one of the category 1 riders, and stay with him. Really going to be interesting to see. In fact, he is. Great job there by Lyndon, sticking on to Jones's wheel and really trying to dig in and work. But Jones' sights set on his teammate Kaminski, because Kaminski is the rider hunting down the 3 leaders. These are they: Vujasin, Knudsen and Safrazadi. That's the polka dot banner, the top of the Canberra climb. We're going to have 3 riders in category 1 go over in the lead.
So this is the lead group. Can they hold on to that? It's a long, long way. I mean, this could be a race finish in its own right. It's not, because we have got a big old chase going to come over the top here. But can they get it together? This is about communication. It's about working together. We know our leaders are capable of pushing on from the summit down the other side, of taking this to the rest of the riders, and they have got the advantage. There are lots of riders in front as well.
What we need to remember, Matt, is the top of the Canberra climb is not even half race distance.
Ouch is the word I'm looking for. Right, let's go to our riders. Quickly give you the category 2 riders at the top of the climb. Alan Young, Benston, Betty in the order. Milostic, who's chasing behind us, just jumped in front of them, in fact.
Look at that.
As he comes through chasing, he's gone up the climb. So Lyndon Milostic has gone up that climb some 50 to 60 seconds quicker. However, it isn't at the front of the race, and that is a great example of why he's live timing now. Safrazadi, Knudsen, Vujasin, Kaminski, Jones went over. Plantro, Jacobs and Van Elst have now jumped in, but look at the time gaps. 12 seconds back to Kaminski, nearly 22 seconds to Jones, 45 to Plantro and co. Those are big, big time gaps behind. They can be made up, and it's going to depend on how well these riders work together. Are we going to see Vujjasin Safazedi and Knudsen working together?
Well, it's not over yet.
That was the politician's answer. Are we going to see Vujjasin Safazedi and Knudsen working together, Emma?
Yes.
There we go. Oh my goodness, we've got a one-word answer: a yes or a no.
I say that and take a look at that. Michael Knudsen heads to the front of the pack. He wants to keep the pace high because he does not want Kaminsky to join them. Kaminsky joins them. There's two teammates from the coalition, Alpha Jaw in the top four, and the other two riders, well, they need to watch those team tactics. So Safazedi and Knudsen are the two riders who need to work. Maybe that we see Vujjasin, the rider who takes the toe, because he will want Kaminsky to catch.
Maybe, maybe he will. I don't know. I think it's very difficult, isn't it? They work really well as a pair, the two of them.
Oh, well, I have to say the whole team worked really well as a five.
Well, yeah. But you see them time and time again, those two taking it out. That teamwork really, really key. Now, Mistake 100 of the UAE Clan team on the front of this group. They are really working hard, but this group are having a real fight today.
It's
a
so
great
strong.
race, isn't it? Here we've got
is.
Betty, we've got Don, we've got Alan Junger, we've got Cridlin, Baxter, Kane in here, Walter. I mean, this... You predicted we would see group sprints, Emma.
Oh, the class of this Category 2 field is just phenomenal. As I said to you earlier on, Matt, when we had about 12 riders in the leading group, all 12 riders had finished historically in the top 5. You know, the strength and depth of the race field in Category 2, if they are on form, the race is on fire.
Yep, let's see who will be the rider who's going to burn it up at the front, who's going to be able to light us their way to the finish. Will it be Anders Bengston? Bengston, he's there or thereabouts. Has Anders Bengston, that you can remember, taken a win yet? I don't think he has
in
he?
Category 2?
I don't think he has in 2.
He's definitely finished in the top 5 on a number of occasions. I am just having a little quick flick through my...
Emma goes through He has.
Qualifier 1 in March.
There we go.
On
this course.
The outer loop.
Excellent. So, is it going to be his day again? Excellent. There's a reason why I'm copious notes. Now, let's give you a little bit of a reminder of what we've got coming in front of our riders as our riders make their way down. 25 kilometres covered for Category 1, 34 for Category 4. They are the extremes either end of the riders on the group. So 25 and 34k covered for Categories 1 and 4 respectively. Let's take a look where that puts them on the course profile, because this is going to be really interesting in terms of that run in, because Category 4 are nearest to the finish.
They are.
Now, this little rider is up over the top and heading back down the other way. As the rider goes through, you can see that the Melbourne Sprint comes at 41k. Now, Emma, that's after a long, gradual downhill running before we hit some more bumpy bits.
It is, and I think the bumpy bits, as you've just called them, Matthew, are the key part of this final run. You have to remember it's 24.3 kilometres from the top of the Canberra climb to that checkered flag, and it is not a flat run in at all. So you come down off the Canberra climb, where most of our riders now are, into quite a rolling section, and some of those sections are really quite steep. You come through the Canberra Sprint, and then you move through to the Melbourne Sprint. Now, that comes at 41.8 kilometres into this race, and it will give us an idea of group size and chase time. And talking about chase time, you can see this leading group in Category 3 chasing these Category 4 riders. 2, 4, 6, 7 riders in this Category 3 leading group, absolutely motoring at 33.3 kilometres into this race. They're through the Canberra Sprint, and they're on that section between the Canberra Sprint and the Melbourne Sprint. It is rolling, and you can see that from the profile on the top right-hand corner of your screen. Now, it does give opportunities for breakaway. It gives opportunities for catching groups. And as you can see, these two groups coming together now. Now, the benefit here for the group in front is to try and now jump onto the pace and into the draft of the pack coming through. Because it does mean that they can move down the road. But this is where it gets really interesting, because take a look at this. Rimborg has done exactly what I would expect one of the Category 3 riders to do, and that's lift the pace to try and not allow the Category 4 group to stay in the mix, because it means that the riders who are in this group get an easier ride because the pack is bigger.
And it's a place where you can push through. If you've been on the front, suddenly you get into the draft of another group, it winds you up, you spit through, and then the rest of the group get that same benefit and come in. But I think the category 4 and 3 riders should stay together at least through this downhill and onto that long section. Basically, it's a long run down to the Melbourne Sprint at 41.8k. Should be able to stay in there, but
I
not
agree.
all the way. The thing is, the climbs, the bumps are too small to get a separator
until
in
we get into the final 4 kilometres of this race. Well, or
kind of about here.
Well, exactly. It's about, well, that's true.
Yeah.
But as we can see at the front here, so this is the front of the race at the moment. The leaders on the road: David Winfield, Mark Dadson, and Andrew Neville Ross. It's an Antipodean 3 at the front. The gradient just kicking of the power going down. So Dadson pushing on Winfield and Neville Ross all side by side as they continue to work. It's a 30-second gap back to Zanaska. And indeed, Carcajal is there as well. And then further gaps back down the field. In fact, nearly a minute back to Valencia and Newman.
So a minute between Valencia, Newman, and the rider in front, Carcajal, and then the gaps continue upwards. We're in, though, with Rimburg at the moment on the left-hand side of your screen in that chasing group. They're at the end of the long straight. We've got the zigzag through before you make your way up to this group. The Category 3 and Category 4 riders well into this course, but we have the draft effect. We have the catching by Category 3 of Category 4, and it is good practice, I always think, for our Category 4, 3, 2 riders when they're caught by Category 1, 2, 3 coming up behind them, because the riders as they come through, you get that. It's almost like motor pacing. If you've been unlucky enough or lucky enough to do a bit of motor pacing, a bit like sitting behind Michael Knudsen, I guess, then it is really the best way to improve your speed.
Lyndon Mustick sitting behind Ollie Jones, setting the fastest time in Category 2 up the climb. It's a little bit of motor pacing, the motivation to stay with a rider in a higher category. Well, Knudsen and Vyasin are still holding Kaminsky. They've got Safrazadi with them. So those 3 riders still holding Kaminsky at around 13 seconds. Jones another 20 seconds back. So these 3 riders have come down the climb and they have stayed clear. They're coming they are just over 29 kilometres now into this 45-kilometre race. So I think we've got a 3-up work team going on here to get to that finish line. You can see that rider Kaminsky in the middle of those 2 groups on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. This, for me, is now what gets really interesting, because we've got such a long stretch to that checkered flag. And we have later starting categories now really sweeping up the rest of the race fields and moving them on, yet the riders who are out the front desperately trying to stay clear. So for example, in that category 4 race, we've got those 3 riders desperately trying to stay clear. They are at the moment, or were last time we saw them, 1.3 kilometres ahead of the leading group of category 3 riders who had caught some of the category 4 back markers. So this is really cat and mouse now, not just amongst your own race category, but keeping your eye on what's happening in other race categories as well.
And this is where the more information you have, the better you're going to be at interpreting that and getting a better result. Because if you can see a group coming, you'll rest earlier, you'll take the most of that lift and go in and across. That's right-hand side, very much about who's doing what in what categories and how that plays out. Left-hand side, you've got Ollie Jones chasing a solo rider in front of him, 14 seconds, 15 seconds up the road, Michael Kaminsky, further 5-6 seconds, the leading group. If they came together, that would be a group of 5. Now, category 2 leaders, well, it's a little bit more contentious because we have Jose Ricardo Betty at the moment with a 4-second gap to Ruben Dunn. A full-on attack coming from Betty as we come in to this bumpy section at 32.8k. Now, we have the bumps before we do that long run down to the Melbourne Sprint. And Betty at the moment, I think, wanted to just make life difficult for the riders here. You got Betty, Mr. X100. You have got Ruben Dunn, Todd Allen Young, Angus Bengston. all in that group. They are trying to come back to Betty, but Betty at the moment is pushing on here, and this is making life a little bit more difficult. They can't afford to relax too much.
No, and it's really interesting, isn't it? Because there's still 12 kilometres of this race to go, and you can sort of start to question Betty's rationale for doing this.
I was just thinking just that. Would I have gone on the attack, even Mr. Lunatic never actually win a race because you go too hard and go for the making the action? And the answer is I would not have gone for this. I think it's just too hard. It's too far to go, and you've got such a big group behind. But if they hesitate, he could get enough distance. He must be feeling strong. Or he thinks, do you know what? This is a bit of the terrain that suits me.
Well, for all you know, he's got a teammate in that squad behind. And actually, the teammate is working to come to the front and sit and pull back on the pace and keep that group gapped. You know, at the moment, there's no real concerted effort. Take a look at Walters, you know, and take a look at the pace there. So there may be some strategy here, or Betty may just be feeling, do you know what? I feel really good today. I just need to stretch my legs and do my own thing.
Quite possibly. We will have to see how that plays out. A little bit further round, though, Ollie Jones is on his way up to Michael Kaminsky. Remember, Kaminsky and Jones are teammates. I think Kaminsky's seen him coming to talk to each other. Kaminsky's going to wait for Jones, and these two now working together. This is smart riding because they can take themselves up there. That would then give the front group of Chessin, Kaminsky, and Jones from the same team.
Yeah, no, that would be 3 of the Coalition Alpha Jaw in the top 5. If these two can make it, and I'm sure you're right, Matt, I'm sure Kaminsky has waited for Jones because Jones was closing that gap down and he's shaken his tail. He had riders with him previously. He's no longer got those riders with him. So it is now a clear run for Jones to get onto Kaminsky's wheel and for these two now to work together. So take a look at that. The pace of both of those riders now picking up as they try now with their sights set on the leading 3.
So here we go, the chase on, 2 riders behind, trying to close the gap down 16 seconds or so. It's yo-yoing up and down because they are live time gaps as we keep, but we're trying to remind everybody they are live time gaps, so they will go up and down. The riders know, though, that they've got to keep pushing all the way to the finishing line as these riders make the way up here. Henry East making his way in here. You can just see in Category 3. So your leaders in the Category 3 on the way in at 38.9k done. And they've got to close the gaps to the leading riders. I suspect it's not going to be long before we see Category 3 coming right up to the front of the race, and they are going to bring Category 4 back together again.
Well, and that's what the riders in this group have wanted to happen, Matt. They've jumped on, they've worked hard, and they've wanted to stay in this group of Category 3 riders, because take a look at that. Whilst we're in with Henry Yeast, one of our Category 3 riders, there's Category 4 riders in the pack, and they're about to catch... I need to put my teeth in. They're about to catch the next group of Category 4 riders on the road, moving this group into the top 10 on the road, which means there are less riders ahead of them than they probably have in this pack in terms of Category 4 riders. So these are the leaders in Category 3. They're sweeping up the chasers in Category 4. The question is, can those 3 lone Category 4 leaders stay out clear of the chase?
Do you know, it reminds me of that sort of, you know, they're off. The hares are off in front and the hounds behind are chasing behind.
It's a bit of a hare and hounds.
It is. It's a big old pack trying to close out. It's fracturing a little bit, but they have got riders in front. They are a fair way down the road. We're going to have to see what's going to happen here. At the moment, the riders in 9th, 8th, 9th, and 10th places, they're going to see them coming.
Well, I tell you something, they're waiting. Look at the power there. So Allport at the moment around 2 watts per kilo.
You need to be able to pick it up when that pack come to you, and taking a rest now means you're going to have strength left for later, doesn't it?
Well, and that's what you're going to need, because this is going to come down to a sprint. Whether it's going to come down to a sprint for 1, 2 and 3 in the Cat 4 race, or for the minor positions of 4th and 5th, they are going to need their legs and they are going to need to have recovered. Now, Allport doing that on the back of the group, because it's like Jaws. Da-da, da-da.
Yeah,
The group
100%.
is coming. 4 riders here in the Category 4 race about to be swept up. They are 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th on the road, leaving only the top 5 in Category 4 ahead. Well, this is going to be a big group of riders when they catch. It's going to be the leaders in Category 3 and the chasers in Category 4. They're going to be all together for the last 4 kilometres of this race today.
And the 3 riders they're chasing are on the right-hand side of your screen. Dadson, Winfield, and Neville Ross. 45 seconds
1
to 2
kilometre.
riders. Yeah, do you know what? I think they're going to stay away. I think they're going to stay away. I'm hoping they stay away. I think they deserve to stay away. They've put the effort in. They're working hard. They're working together. For me, what they've got to think about is, when do you stop working? When do you shut down? Do you just keep on trying to go to the line, or do you ease back off? For all the easing off for the Luke Allport group, they've not yet been caught on the left-hand side of your screen. And I'm not sure that the Category 3 riders haven't shut down, because there's a lot of Category 4 riders now doing the chasing.
I'm watching the pace. I'm watching the kilometres per hour rather than the watts per kilo. And actually, the front 3 are moving slightly quicker, but just slightly. They are at least staying at a similar pace, which means, well, if there's 1 kilometre between them, that's 1 kilometre.
I don't think, which is why I don't think it's going to come back. It's not a big enough rate of gain, because the Category 3 riders decided that they're going to play their own race here and chase on. Real intriguing times here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club in Australia on the Outer Loop course, qualifier number 1 in May for Sunday Race Club. And at the moment, our riders just starting to make their way in through the Melbourne Sprint. This is from 41.8 to 42.1k. So another of our 300-metre sprints. It's the final one of 3, and will give us our final recipients of those points jerseys. Now, Winfield, Neville Ross and Dadson have been through ahead of Zanaska and Carcahal, and they went through with faster times. Will those times of Winfield, Neville Ross, Dadson, Zanaska and Alejandro Carcahal be eclipsed by the chasing group? We're not going to have long to find out. They're the right-hand side of the northern right side of the screen system. They are the riders out in front with Category 4, chasing with 3, and it looks to me, in that 3-4 race, that it is all pretty much the same time. They're not pulling back too much time at the moment. Let's see what happens when Category 2 and 1 come through. All 4 categories on your screen. Category 4 leaders the furthest down the road at 43.1k. Category 3 at 42.4. Category 2 leaders at 38.2. And our Category 1 trio of escapees, they are at 36.3k, with the chase behind still in progress.
Yes, the chase behind in Category 1 is still in progress, but it's looking like it's pretty much the same time gap at the moment. There's a few Category 2 riders in the mix, and well, this is the front of the Category 3 race, and Henry Yeast was the rider who put the attack in through the sprint, and he has not stopped. Great use of tactics by Yeast. Go for the sprint and just keep going, and he's got 6-7 seconds at the moment. And interestingly, who's doing the chasing but Category 4?
Category 4 chasing down. Now, the compression as they come in here will be matched, I think, by the extension as we go over the top. It is. He's now starting to stretch away again because he's going into that downhill. This is the reverse of the Michael Vink flyover, basically.
It is. But interestingly, what's happening here, Matt, is Category 4, positions 4 and 5 are potentially attainable. There's just a 10-second gap to Zanaska and Carcahal, which are currently in 4th and 5th position. So if this group can close down that 10-second gap, they can be fighting for top 5 positions, which is going to include or motivate them to push harder, necessarily more than the Category 3 riders.
And remember, of course, 5 prizes in each of our categories, equally in the men's and women's races, and some great prizes up for grabs. The results do need to be verified, and you will be able to catch up with all those results on mywhoosh.com/results. So do please jump on there.
Well, we're taking a look on the right-hand side of your screen. There's 700 metres to go for our 3 leaders in the Category 4 race. I think what Matt has predicted is going to come true. Dadson, Winfield and Neville Ross clear at the moment as they sweep around the right-hand corner. They're going to see the finish line shortly. These 3 riders went clear and they have stayed clear of the chasing group. Zanaska and Carcahal, 45 seconds back, are potentially going to get swept up and are going to have to fight for those 4th and 5th places, those podium spots. It's going to be hard fighting for them until the finish line. But these 3 riders are going to see the finish line very, very shortly. It's going to come very quickly as they swing round this left-hand corner. Mark Dadson leads it out at 11 watts per kilo. Neville Ross goes at 14. So Neville Ross really wanting this, but Dadson's gone early. Is he going to make the line first? So Mark Dadson pushes. Neville Ross is not coming. Dadson's going to take the win from Neville Ross from Winfield. The 3 breakaway riders take 1, 2, 3 in the Category 4 race. So Category 4, our first 3 riders are through. We are back now with Henry Yeast, who took the lead in the Category 3 race through the sprint and just kept going. But Kansara has come over the top with 400 metres to go. Nico Kansara, we know he's got a sprint on him, has come up and over the top of Henry Yeast. Yeast is responding now at 8 watts per kilo. Kansara's got a kick again as Yeast comes round and up onto his wheel. He goes up and over the top of Nico Kansara. Henry Yeast goes into P1 as Kansara stays in 2. Staples is coming fast from behind. Can Kansara make this, or is Yeast going to stay? Yeast is going to take the win from Kansara from Staples.
What a 1, 2, 3. So close up there as they came in and through the line, separated by what looks like 0.12 of a second. We're going to get that, just check that back on time, but very, very close indeed in Categories 4 and in Category 3. Categories 2 and 1 are a little bit further out at the moment. And a really interesting move here. We've got Mr. X100 with Ricardo Betty, Ruben Don in there, and Todd Allen Young not all that far behind. This is a pretty good group here, and it's not a decisive move off the front yet by Mr. X100 or Ricardo Betty. However, we can see Don in there, and we know Don can sprint. They're still on the way through that Melbourne Sprint at the moment, Emma. This is a long way to go.
I tell you somebody else who can sprint, Matt, and that's Bert Kane.
Yeah.
And we've seen him take wins in the last couple of months. He's got a phenomenal kick on him. So this group really do have to watch out. So X100, Don, Betty, with this chasing pack, all riding hard. You know, this could be anybody's win at the moment, but it's definitely, I think, going to be a sprint. Now, take a look at the bottom left-hand side of your screen. There's another chase group of Category 2 riders coming as well. So X100 Betty leading the chase group. They've got 3 kilometres to go.
So at the moment, this is Mr. X100 on your screens, goes through the Melbourne Sprint at over 5 watts per kilo. Will he back off or will he continue to push? Will he use this as an excuse to kick on? We saw that move by East. The move coming through here and on to the next riser, enough to take him clear. At the moment, though, will it be the same fate for Mr. X100? Can he take the win here? Henry East flying his way through. Kansara challenging him into the finish. But in Category 2, it is very tight indeed. They are at 42.4k. Meanwhile, in Category 1, left-hand side of your screen, Knudsen, Vajastin and Safasedi, the 3 riders making the way through. Safasedi in the white polka dot skin suit of the Climbs leader and winner. Now you can see Knudsen, he's a rider in yellow with no helmet. And we have got Lionel Vajastin with the white helmet and the yellow skin suit. They're your 3 leaders in Category 1, left-hand side of your screen. Right-hand side of your screen, Mr. X100 continuing to push 4 seconds at the moment from Dont Alan Young and the rest of this group. He's doing what he can, Mr. X100 here. He's putting it in the attack. Can he make it stick? It's a long way to the finish still.
It is a long way to the finish, and the push is coming on from the pack. I can see 8 watts per kilo out of Ken at the moment, trying to close this gap down. They're utilising this uphill section. Bankston 9.3, Daunt 9.1 watts per kilo. They want to close that down. They do not want to let that go, and they want to work hard. There aren't many opportunities for attacks along the way, but this is a strong group. 5 category 2 riders here, pushing on and pushing on hard. Well, they've caught X100. They've gone up and over the top, and they've utilised the power on that short, sharp climb. So 5 riders here. X100 just off the back, making it 6. That'll be 6 riders potentially going into the finish sprint together in Category 2. Not much further back is Kranich and his group, which contains Spratt and Graves.
So this is going to be a really interesting finish in Category 2. You can just see the leaders on the left of your screen. The chase from Mr. X100 on the right-hand side of your screen. Graves is not far behind. Bjarhead, Spratt and Co.
And the power is on.
They are really trying to bring this down. I've just seen 7.5 watts per kilo coming out of that chasing group. This is going to come back together again. This is going to mean that the run for the line is going to be a tough one. Remember that we are at the moment at 43.8K. So we still have plenty of distance to go. The riders at the moment making the way round. This is one big group. This is going to be a big sprint in Category 2. It's not a bunch sprint. It is a group sprint, and I think somebody called it right.
Just polishing my halo at the moment, because I said at the very beginning there would be at least 10 riders in the sprint in Category 2.
Please, somebody
That's
break away.
12 riders in this group at the moment, and they've got 900 metres to go.
Well, they've got 900 metres for somebody to stop Emma being insufferable in the post-show production meeting with her prediction. Will it be Graves who's going to go off the front? Who's going to take this out? Here we go. 800 metres and counting. The wind-up is coming and another kick goes.
Well, the kick's gone from Ruben Daunt at 13 watts per kilo. He takes the right-hand bend, and there's still a 600-metre run to the line. So Daunt has gone so early. He's 2 seconds clear, 3 seconds clear. Can Daunt do this on his own? Where's it going to come to from behind, and who's going to lead this out? Bengtson's at 7 watts per kilo, but Ruben Daunt looks to me from the wattage wizards like he's going to ride clear. Matt is cheering him on over the other side of the studio, but he's got 300 metres still to go, and Bjarhead's kicks at 9 watts per kilo behind. So Jonas Bjarhead is leading the charge behind, but Ruben Daunt's going to come round the corner here. He's taking the sprint off the back of this group of Category 3 riders, but that's the UCI banner. That's Ruben Daunt. He takes the win in Category 2. Nicholas Spratt pushing for second place. I think he's going to take that from Ricardo Betti, from Olivier Simmons. That was phenomenal.
Well, what a finish. Ruben Daunt, I owe you an ice cream or two there. That wasn't a bunch sprint. That was a solo escapee in the last kilometre. I'm going to take that anyway, because it is Ruben Daunt, the Wattage Wizards, who takes victory from Nicholas Spratt. Then it is Ricardo Betti, followed by Burt Kane and James Krasnich. So they are the riders, your top 5 in Category 2. They were followed home by Simmons, Bankston, Walter, Bjarhead, Alan Young, Mr. X100, Phil Graves, and Peter Milostich. We're back in with Category 1, and we have 3 Category 1 riders in here. Just to make things confusing for you, we only have one yellow jersey, though, and that is line number Justin. He's the man with the yellow jersey. The polka dot skin suit, that is Said Safrazedi in Category 1. And the green skin suit with no helmet, that is Michael Knudsen. They are your 3 Category 1 riders. They are the riders in with the chance of the prizes in Category 1 in the top 3. We have hit 1 kilometre to go. They've got a gap to the riders behind that should be enough to keep them clear, given how much distance is left. Now 900 metres to go. Who will be the first to blink? Who's going to be the first to attack? Are we going to see a Ruben Daunt-esque finish? Will we see a move over the top? Will we see a close 0.1 of a second finish gap? Time to find out. They're heading down at this straight at the moment. They're going to take the right-hand turn here. This is where things get very interesting indeed. And this is where Don launched his attack. What's going to happen?
Well,
let's find out.
Vujasin leans back on the group and drops off to the back. He wants to run through. He wants the draft, but he's still at the front and the power's not gone down yet. They're right the way across the road. Safrazadi at 3 watts per kilo. They've got 500 meters to go. No one wants to open this up. Knudsen coming to the front, but he's still watching the power as we start to see Vujasin go. Vujasin's got a 15 watts per kilo. Oh my goodness, what a power kick coming out of there. He's adamant he wants this win. Knudsen's in 2. Safrazadi's fighting him. Knudsen, Safrazadi fighting for second and third, but it's Vujasin, the rider, who's kicking hard. He's kicking so strongly. He's going to take the win on Qualifier 1 in May. Category 1 winner, Lionel Vujasin. Michael Knudsen in 2. Sai Safrazadi in 3. And the work is out and on for 4th place because Kaminsky is up against his teammate Ollie Jones. Kaminsky's at 11 watts per kilo. Jones is coming up and over the top. So can Kaminsky take this from Jones? Kaminsky kicks again. Ollie Jones comes up and over the top. Jones is going to take this from Kaminsky. So Jones in 4th, Kaminsky in 5.
What a sprint finish between those two riders. They're in category 1. Jones and Kaminsky separated by next to nothing at the end of that. The side-by-side sprint coming into the finish. So just to recap for you, Lionel Vujasin in 1, Michael Knudsen in 2, Sai Safrazadi in 3, Jones and Kaminsky in 4 and 5 respectively. Who's going to be coming through in 6th, 7th and 8th in category 1. It's going to come from this group here on the way into the finish. We've got Michael Plantero in here. We have got Arnie Jacobsen. We've got Stefan Van Elst. Van Elst is going to lead this out. Plantero on second wheel at the moment with the white helmet. Can he answer him? Van Elst is going to be sprinting in. Plantero is on his way into the line, but Van Elst is going to take 6th place. It's going to be a 7th for Michael Plantero. It's going to be an 8th for Arnie Jacobsen. The Dutchman coming in inside the top 10.
Well, Vujasin taking the win in 1 hour, 6 minutes and 44 seconds, 3.5 seconds clear of Michael Knudsen. And Safrazadi in 3. Jones in 4, taking the sprint from Kaminsky, Van Elst, Plantero and Jacobs, rounding out the top 8 in category 1. Don taking the win in 2 from Spratt and Betty. In 3, it was Yeast from Kansara. And then in category 4, it was Dadson from Neville Ross.
So they are the top results in each of our race categories. Please do jump onto www.mywhoosh.com/results for the full results. They are unofficial until all are verified. I'm going to be on there doing my homework ready for next week very shortly. Don't forget, you can join us each and every week here. My name's Matt Payne. I'm here with Emma Martin in the studio. We are but the cherry on top of the cake that is the production from the amazing team at MyWhoosh, both in streaming and broadcasting as well as in making the game happen. A massive thank you for watching. Massive thank you for our riders, particularly Ruben Don for spoiling Emma's party in the post-production, meaning that I can sit pretty said it was a solo victory. Will it be the same next week? You'll have to tune in to find out. But from me, Matt Payne, from Emma Martin, stay safe. We'll see you again soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.